I have a right to be upset. I don't have a right to ruin our entire relationship and slander you.
I also just take a little bit different of a point of view where it's like there's so much room for success for everybody.
Welcome to Cocktails and Gossip, the podcast where we drink cocktails, but you better believe we're going to spill the tea. We chat reality TV, celebrity blinds, and the hottest tea from BravoandCocktails.com. And as always, it's all alleged and just for fun. We do not verify our blinds. I'm B.
And I'm Amanda. Let's get into this week's tea.
What's up, cocktailers? Amanda, welcome back. We missed you. We had fun with Larry, but we missed you.
Oh, hi, cocktailers. I missed you too. I mean, you and I text every day, but we didn't get to gossip last week. So I'm so happy to be back. I'm so glad that Larry was able to step in for me because he did awesome. And B, you did awesome with the recording and doing all of that. So good job, you guys.
I was so scared after I was like, okay, Larry, hold on. Let me read this to you. And he's like, I can't see what you're seeing, but like, I think we recorded it right. Guys.
Well, we had that one time where we thought we lost our recording after having like an awesome podcast. And so I feel like you and I have both been scarred from that experience.
Paranoid. And then we have like, our PayPal transactions that we never know if they went through. And did we just give a stranger our...
No, I go to the same thing every week. I just have ADD and I don't follow it I hit submit, but then I don't hit confirm or whatever. It's just dumb.
Wait,
so
but
I'm
have
sure,
you...
like...
I have to tell this story. So, and I can't even remember. It was so many years, like probably like, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 years ago. But I ordered I was paying somebody via PayPal. I think it was a photographer. Like, you know, when you get the like the holiday pictures for kids, like, I don't know if you've ever done that, but like you have a photographer and they sit on the back of a truck and it's cute and you spend too much money and so I did that and I put the photographer's name in and I sent it to the wrong person and then I messaged the person and I was like, I'm so sorry. I meant to send it to the photographer who I actually use. Can you please send me back? And the person didn't. And then when I disputed it with PayPal, they took the other person's side. But I was like, but that person's like located in, I don't know, across the country, like, and I'm located on the East Coast. Like, obviously I sent it to the wrong Nope, I was out the money.
Ugh,
yeah.
That's annoying.
Sucked.
Yeah. Which is why I'm always like so paranoid about it. But anyway. Okay. So I mean, I feel like in the next couple of weeks, I need to cancel all of my plans so I can stay home and watch TV. There's so much happening on Bravo.
I mean, same.
So let's start though, before we get into shows and stuff, like let's talk about the news from today, which you posted on, it was membership site, I think, on Cocktail Party, that we got the Kim Zolciak foreclosure documents. So we got the news, which is new because we've been talking about this for a while, but it's officially the big mortgage, which is like 1.5, 1.6 million, is in foreclosure, and the house is set to be auctioned off on March 7th, which is less than a month away.
So it was officially published. You know, our listeners know we've been talking about this for months. They defaulted on their primary loan. That's the big one. That's the over $1 million loan. I'm hearing, my sources are saying we should also expect a bankruptcy announcement. The source explained it to me, and I try to have, because the people that send me this, like, work in the industry. I know we've said this before. I don't want to repeat myself, but just to clarify, if you didn't listen to the old pod to understand. So we originally started talking about this because their $236,000 line of credit was foreclosed on. And that was confusing, and we explained it as best we could on our previous pods. But now we have confirmation that the primary loan, which is much larger, has foreclosed. The documents have been made public. It is on a legal website with their names and the address and the dates. Again, those documents are on the website. The source said that they would have never been able to foreclose on the secondary smaller loan without paying the first mortgage as their superior mortgage. So I guess that was a step, it was a step in the process of this ultimate foreclosure, which has now been made public. The reason the source is saying they might be announcing bankruptcy is that filing a Chapter 13 is the only way to save them from foreclosure. So states have different timelines for foreclosure, according to the professionals that spoke to me about this. But all of Georgia, the source who's telling me this is from Georgia. And they said that it's one of the fastest timelines from, foreclose to ultimate auction eviction. Once the property is sold at the foreclosure auction, the eviction process will take anywhere from 14 to 30 days. When the paperwork is approved, the new owner has a right to serve you a 3-day notice to quit. When that ends, the sheriff appears to assign the eviction date. You and any other people inhabiting the property must leave by this date and take all personal items with you. So we're looking at March 7th, on or about, for the foreclosure, and then 14 to 30 days. So you're talking by April, they're got to be out.
Unless they file bankruptcy.
Right. And again, cocktailers, reach out to me if you can, that's kind of a simplified version. I don't know if the filing bankruptcy then holds it up another month, or it's obviously not going to fully save the house, I don't think.
Yeah. I mean, I think it totally depends on what other assets they have and all of that, I guess. But I mean, honestly, we've been talking about this for a while. I think we all kind of were like, well, what's really happening, right? And now I think it's just I feel terrible for them. I can't help but wonder if they were in financial trouble this whole time, why weren't they honest about it? And why didn't they try to sell the house or do a short sale or something, instead of just saying everyone's lying? You guys, the people who are saying that are losers and haters, it's just sad.
It's very sad. I mean, I feel very sad for them. I feel terrible for the kids. It just seems so irresponsible, because clearly they were making money, a lot of money. And I guess I'll never wrap my head around the idea of not saving for a rainy day, right?
Yeah.
If you have a regular job, if you're a regular person and you're police officer, and every year you make X amount of dollars, you know that year to year when you wake up, you're still going to make X amount, or you'll get a raise, but you're going to keep making that money. So it's a stable way. So if you have a certain standard of living, you know that year after year, you'll be able to afford it. But I mean, you're a business owner, Amanda, and I know that businesses have very fluctuating salaries. You're not guaranteed. One year you have a lean year.
Right.
They know that they're in a show, and when that show's canceled, they have to not overspend, because we don't know when our next show or when our next gig is coming. Right. I'm sure working actors, right? In the entertainment world, you have to manage your money properly. You have to invest it.
Yeah.
You have to start a business so that you have another stream of income. We know that they did start businesses, and, maybe some of it is that businesses that were successful were hit by COVID, were hit by just changes in whatever, maybe Rinna Beauty put Cab Beauty out of business. We don't know.
Yeah.
But I don't
Who
know.
knows?
Save for a rainy day. Teaching my kids that's for sure.
Well, yeah, and definitely I agree. Especially if, your show is over, then you need to curtail the spending. So, and look for other sources of income. So anyway, I feel for them, and, let's see what happens. Who knows, what's happening. Maybe they'll somehow restructure things. Who knows?
I hope.
Yeah, me too. Because I mean, the kids, they've got a lot of kids, and those kids deserve to, have a home to live in. So, okay, so let's move on to Jersey. So, I have to tell you guys a really funny story. So, my mom was in town and I was like, hey, I'm like, I have to do this for the pod, come, why don't you watch this with me? Because she knows
Does
about
your
it. And I
mom
talked,
listen
but she
to
doesn't
us,
watch.
Amanda?
She does,
Oh my
but
God.
she doesn't know who a lot of the people are. So it's very sweet of her, I think, to be so supportive. Because I think, it would be like, you listening to a podcast about all the different Yankee players. I would be like, I don't know who these people are.
I don't know why, but that just made me so embarrassed knowing your mom listens.
Oh no, she loves it. She
Oh
really
my
does.
gosh.
She's like our biggest fan. It's so cute.
Well, it's such a mom, like my
So-
mom is passed, so obviously she can't listen. Like it would never occur to my dad to listen. Like he asked me about it, but he wouldn't actually listen. But if my mom were around, she would be like, oh, she would be all like, what's with the cursing? Oh, B.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. And I think, I don't hear a ton from my mom, a lot of feedback. And so like she might even just be telling me that she's listening fully or like just listening to some of it. So anyway, it's very sweet. So she's here and we're watching the show. And I'm like kind of having to explain who everybody is, which, it's a huge cast this year. So it's a lot of me pausing and kind of explaining. And I was being really patient with her about it. But she knew who Teresa is. So anyway, the scene where Dolores comes on and then like she and Frank are talking in the kitchen. So my mom's like, is that Dolores's husband? I'm like, no, that's her ex-husband. And then Frank starts talking about how he had moved in with David. And so my mom's like, oh, is he gay?
Oh.
And I'm like, no, David is Dolores's ex-boyfriend and Frank moved in with him. Then my mom's like, wait, so David is an ex-boyfriend, Frank is an ex-husband, but neither of them are with Dolores? I'm like, no, she has a new boyfriend named Paulie now.
Oh my God.
And I'm like, it's so funny because I'm like, it really, watching with new eyes, it's like, we are watching a telenovela. It is, I mean, it is a soap opera for sure. And I love it.
Explaining it makes it sound so much crazier. Like that's happened to me where my dad's like, what did you even talk about? So I'll start like explaining it and then he'll be like, wait, and I'm like, I know it's crazy. Anyway, let's talk about something else.
I know. And then my mom was like, whoa, somebody called somebody a C-U-N-T? Like, I was like, oh God, Mom. Like, I'm like, they cut deep on this one. Like, they're not all like this, but this one, this franchise, they really cut deep. And there's definitely some kind of mean name calling. But anyway, so I'm so excited to talk about the show. And you and Larry kind of touched on the toxicity of social media, specifically around New Jersey last week. But wow, I mean, it feels like, you guys were like teleported into the future because, even watching the first episode, it just feels like a lot. And I also just wanted to say, I loved your point about us as fans being able to love two housewives who hate each other. Like, we don't have to choose. But Jersey you're totally right. Jersey is different. The fans have this like rabidity, like they're very rabid. It is very different. And we're really starting to, we saw a lot of that, I think, in the first episode and in the social media this week since it came out.
I mean, wow. Especially over on Twitter, which I'm on a lot less, but it's really like making you choose. And I said last week, and I really am trying to go into the season with like fresh eyes, right? Because things change
Right.
season to season. Now, it is no secret that I tend to agree with Melissa's perspective more. And I mean Melissa's perspective. I don't even mean Joe's perspective, right? Because I can't co-sign the language that he has said to some of the women, and I won't. I don't agree with it.
Yeah.
Overall, I like him. I think he's a good person. I think that he could use some, lessons on not speaking to women in the way that he does. I don't mean his wife. I think he's
Yeah.
respectful of his wife. I mean other women. I don't like it.
Mhm.
It isn't language I would appreciate my own husband using towards women, be it his sister,
Definitely.
God forbid, or somebody that, you know, I wasn't friends with, or you know, whatever.
Right.
But having said that, generally from the beginning, I have agreed more with Melissa. It isn't to say that I don't find any fault in anything that Melissa's done. I think that anything of this magnitude, a fallout this big, there's fault on both sides. No one person can be, you know, responsible. With that said, I'm watching Watch What Happens Live, and, you know, Dolores was on, and they do those polls. And there's such a disparity between what we see on social media, like Teresa's stand, and what we see
Right.
like on the Bravo polls. The Bravo polls seem to agree with me, which is like, Melissa's the more rational one. Like, I think Teresa even said at the reunion that she was serious, that she was mad that Melissa didn't move her wedding because she was so pregnant at
Yeah.
Melissa and Joe's wedding. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
but anyone who thinks that that's a normal way to feel, like,
Yeah.
I'm getting married, I'm not planning my pregnancy around you. But this is the same person who doesn't understand why her sister-in-law, who's been married to her husband for almost 20 years, is upset she was excluded. So
Right.
to me, that's hypocrisy. Like, she should have moved her wedding, but you're not even having her in your bridal party, which, by the way, is 12 people. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It'd be one thing if she just had
Yeah.
one best friend
Her
and her
daughters.
daughters, or even if she had her
Yeah.
daughters and one friend, but has a lot of people. And then people say, well, Louis' sisters are his family and she's marrying into his family. Listen, I believe Louis' sisters should be in the wedding too. Absolutely.
Yeah.
But, you know, family, and she's Italian, and your sister-in-law, never mind your sister-in-law of 20 years, is as much your family as... I only have sister-in-laws, okay, because I have one brother and my husband has one
Right.
sister. So I don't have any blood sisters, similar to Teresa. I have one brother. My sister-in-laws are considered my family. It doesn't mean that you don't fight with family. I'm fortunate. You guys all know I always talk about both my sister-in-laws. And it's funny because I never differentiate. So, like, I said,
I know.
a nurse reached out to me, like, to share something the other day, a GoFundMe. And I was like, oh, my sister-in-law's a nurse. She's like, I love you. Always talk about your sister-in-law. And I'm thinking that people probably always think I'm talking about the one, but it's two. But that's besides the point. Anyway, family is family. It doesn't mean you don't agree, but there's a level. The way I was raised was you just do it. Even cousins, again, when you're 50 and you're getting married, you don't have to have your cousins in it. But my point is, like,
Yeah.
you may not be close. Let's say you have 3 first cousins that are in your age group. You're not going to have 2 and not the third. It's like,
Right.
it's just what people do. So,
Right.
okay.
Totally agree.
So now we get to the episode, and after the episode, we see that Teresa sent text to a social media account, which I want to point out, like, Teresa really was never in that world. I know that all the other franchises and Margaret has been blamed and Melissa and all this, like, Teresa is now doing what she was mad Margaret was supposedly doing, right? So she sends texts to an account who posts them. So let's break down the text. Melissa messages the night of the reunion, or, you know, right after the reunion. She messages her and says, look, it's fine I'm not in your wedding. I really don't want to fight about this. I don't want you to be mad at me for Margaret's actions. I won't be mad at you for Jennifer's actions. Like, the reunion was bad. And because I'm sure you rewatched it before the first episode of the new season, I mean, Teresa going in at Joe and calling him a bitch boy and diminishing him, it really was unkind. And I think Melissa sent that. Now, Melissa's point is not that Teresa just never spoke to her again until they were about to start filming. No, she texted the meme Happy Easter, which, by the way, was funny, with the 2 naked butts with the eggs drawn on them. I thought that was cute. They texted about presents for the kids' birthdays, so they had interactions. I took it to mean that Melissa's point was she didn't respond to her text to say, you're right, I don't want to fight with you either. Like, let's put a pin in this. We did the reunion. We both, right, okay. So,
Agreed.
right. So then 2 weeks prior to filming, right? So now it's like a month and a half or 2 months. And Melissa said that there was no response to that specific text. Then Teresa wants to address. And Melissa today, which I was surprised because she posted, she came out and said, she texted me right before we started filming and after it had aired and she was getting backlash, right? She reached out and her text was actually very nice. I thought that Teresa's text was really nice. She said, I'm sorry I hurt your feelings. I want to make up. I don't want to fight like this. I agree our family has moved backwards. Let's do a lunch. I thought that Teresa's message to Melissa was very nice. Let's meet for lunch, wanting to move past it. Melissa's response was like, it's fine. It's fine. I told you it's fine. I think that Melissa's response, in my opinion, was setting boundaries, right? So what she said was, you don't want me in your wedding. I've come to terms with the fact that we'll never be friends or close, but we're family. So let's keep it peaceful for the kids' sake. Now, the Teresa stands are dragging Melissa for this. My feeling is that at some point, Melissa, after not being asked in the wedding or after her not getting a response to that piece and feeling like I'm not getting a response, but now she wants to make up because she's having backlash, right? Because she said it. She posted that today. She only wanted to make up because she was getting backlash. I feel that at some point after that, she made the decision. Like, I can be polite. Melissa made, I can be polite. I can be civil. But I'm no longer trying. She's done too many things to me. I can't forgive it. I can't forget it. I think she set boundaries. Now, as a viewer, as a fan of Teresa's or anybody's, I can see the perspective that could be a harsh reality, right? I can also appreciate that reality could have been very hard for Teresa to accept because although they've had back and forth, she wanted to keep trying, right? Just because somebody decides they're getting off a merry-go-round doesn't mean it's over for the other person. So I'm not invalidating the fact that Teresa may have been upset, like, no, I still want to have a relationship with you and my brother, and yes, we fought, but like, I'm not taking that from her. I'm just saying, I think what Melissa needs to do, and I hope she does when she goes on Watch What Happens Live, is be very clear and say, I made the decision to stop it and to just be civil. Now, and I want you to respond to that, and then we'll get to the fact that changed because they didn't go to the wedding and they're not civil. So we'll save that for after. But what do you think about the part with just the text?
So I understand the need to draw a boundary, right? And if that was what Melissa was thinking, I get it. I think, first of all, why these women don't pick up the phone and call each other is... I even had this conversation with my 12-year-old son. I'm like, look, like anything you put in writing anywhere can be shared any place, anything. I was trying to have the like social media talk with him. I was also, because he's not on it, but like he's been asking for it, right? And I'm like, if you send a text, somebody can take a screenshot and they can show it. So I'm like, just always be careful whatever you put in writing anywhere. So it's surprising to me because I think also if you look at, I was like, well, how would Teresa have read some of those texts? And especially coming straight out of the reunion when they were like, Teresa was so fired up. Like she might have looked at it like Melissa is being passive aggressive, right? Like it's hard to say. And so I'm like, that's why I'm like, I just don't understand why they don't just pick up the phone.
And again, to Teresa's credit, she did just have that appendix surgery. So, you know, that evening, I can understand why she didn't answer. Even the next day, she needed to rest. She was in physical pain. I get all that. But clearly, she could have addressed it prior to when she did.
Right. Right. And, okay. But with all of that said, I feel like Melissa saying, I'm not coming to your birthday was kind of a catalyst. And I feel like it was a hell of a time to draw a line in the sand because with Teresa's wedding coming up, like her decisions, Melissa's decisions have repercussions on Joe and Teresa's relationship too, whether she likes it or not. So as much as like I think she should stand up for herself, and I don't think she should take any shit. I don't think anybody should, right?
Right.
I do think they should have gone to Teresa's birthday. I feel like there's a difference between taking shit and not standing up for yourself. And there's a big difference between that and then like going along to get along. And I kind of feel like that's the path they should have taken, at least with what we see now.
Mm-hmm.
We know that there's other stuff that's going to happen, and I don't know the timing of everything, but based on that, I feel like that is the path they should have taken, with Teresa's big birthday being so close to the wedding. And, you know, you can back off and not be somebody's friend, and you can be civil, but also encourage your husband to try to repair his relationship with his sister.
I agree with that.
So
I do wonder if, because we know that there's a cheating rumor that's been around.
Right.
We don't know the timing. We don't know, because remember, when they film, production does make them keep some things for certain times. So did they already hear that this had been out there, and were they not yet addressing it on camera? Is that why Joe's so mad? I don't know. I'm wondering.
Yeah.
Because why is Joe so mad? They're clearly, after all these years, to make that boundary. I just don't know. I think something else happened. Clearly, there was a reason they didn't go to the wedding.
Right.
They say that they'll be vindicated when the season comes out, that we'll understand why they didn't go to the wedding. So let's see. Teresa says on her side, she says she'll be vindicated. So again, let's see. I tend to agree about the birthday party because, not that I tend to, I do agree, because if you're being civil and keeping it moving for the kids, that means you go for cake. You don't have to go to Mexico.
Yeah.
Right? The Mexico is the boundary that you're no longer doing. The house for cake is the piece you're keeping.
And you bring your daughters.
Yeah.
And your son.
Yes.
You bring your kids.
Yes.
Because you want the kids, you know, because like, whether or not you think you are, you're dragging your kids into it too by not bringing them.
I mean, those kids, their relationship is in bad shape. I'm sure they're not in communication. It sucks all around. And, you know, Teresa, and then Teresa on her podcast, and it's a meme that's everywhere. Everyone posted it. I gave birth on camera. I went to jail on camera. I got divorced on camera. I got remarried on camera. Yeah, you did. And that's why. I mean, her life has been a lot of serious things.
Right.
Mostly bad. Now, the remarriage, good. The birth of her child, good. You know, watching the girls grow up, good. But she never had to make up a storyline, which she said on her podcast, because she had real stories. But, you know, my issue with that is it minimizes other housewives, right? Like, so because Melissa never broke the law and went to prison, and she's happily married, it makes her boring. Like, I don't think that's fair either. Like, why can't New York have a Sonia? Why can't we have, I don't know. To me, I don't. And then there was the other meme that said, like, named all the people that Teresa has fallen out with over the years. It wasn't Jacqueline's fault. I mean, it wasn't my fault when I fell out with Jacqueline. It wasn't my fault when I fell out with Kathy. It wasn't my fault when I fell out with Rosie. It wasn't my fault when I fell out with Danielle. It wasn't my fault when I fell out with Karen. And there was like a list of a dozen people who she's fallen out with, who she's never taken accountability and always blamed them. So, listen, clearly there's two sides to all these situations.
Yeah. I totally agree with that. I think Teresa is one of those people who, when she says something, she means it, you know, and she's like, I don't, you know, I'm not friends with you anymore, Jacqueline. I'm not friends with you anymore, whatever, you know, and I don't know.
Well, Andy said to her at the reunion, which we just rewatched, so it's fresh in my mind, like, he's like, Teresa, have you ever changed your opinion? Like, when presented with new information, have you ever changed your opinion? And she's like, yes, of course. And he's like when? And of course she couldn't name something because, and listen, some people are stubborn.
Danielle. I mean, remember how out of nowhere she became friends with Danielle again? After throwing a table at her?
And she had Danielle be her soldier and pull Marge's hair and come on.
Right.
And then the second Danielle was like, Teresa told me to, she dropped her.
Yeah. Yeah.
But like the fans don't ever want to talk about that.
No, and I agree with you that the tree huggers are a loud minority. Or maybe they're not, or there's a small group of them are extremely loud, but I think more people are probably somewhere in the middle, like I am, and I think you are, where it's like, look, you guys have both done some messed up stuff. Like,
well, like people go back to like Carlos King, who has a great pod. He came out and said that it's true that Teresa was blindsided by Melissa coming on. Okay, and Teresa at that time had every right to be upset about that. Every right. She it was her thing, and she was upset. On the flip side, I don't see why Melissa wanting the same opportunity at fame and fortune that her sister-in-law had makes her this terrible person.
Right.
So,
I agree.
you know, and so they're like, oh, but then she came on and wasn't nice to her. Okay, well, Teresa also made up all these storylines about her being a stripper and like cheating. Yeah. So it's like, she didn't really have an opportunity. The husband at the time, Juicy Joe, was calling her raccoon face. I mean, come on. She was also mad at her cousin for coming on. Like, why shouldn't Kathy have had a crack at stardom? Right. Like, listen, of course, Teresa's valid. If you're upset by something, who am I to say you can't be? But on the other hand, why couldn't Kathy and Rosie get the fortune and fame?
I totally agree.
Like, why should they be soldiers and say, no, if Teresa doesn't want it, I'm not going on television. I'm not going to start a business. I'm not going to make all the money she's making. I'm just going to lay in the cut and let her be the star. Why do people have to do that?
Well, I mean, believe Teresa when she says, this is my show. You know?
Listen, if my sister-in-law decided to make a Bravo account and a Bravo webpage and a Bravo podcast, would I feel like, that's weird, like you're copying me, you're doing what I'm doing? Yeah, but would I then like go on our podcast and make up absolute lies about my sister-in-law and try to turn everybody against her? And no. Would I be right to be upset about it because you're infringing on like my corner of whatever? Yeah, I have a right to be upset. I don't have a right to ruin our entire relationship and slander you.
I also just take a little bit different of a point of view where it's like there's so much room for success for everybody, right? Like,
right.
And everyone's going to do their own flavor. And I don't know. What do you think Louis the Lips? What do you think his role? Have you noticed his lips, by the way?
Why? No, what? What about his lips?
His lips? Oh my God. Now you're not going to be able to unsee it. I think he's been getting lip filler and he makes like the duck face all the time. And he did when he was like trying to do his like sexy shoot and he like kept putting his lips out. And I think he's gotten filler. So I've been in my head calling him Louis the Lips.
That's fun. You know, I have to tell you, people always say he's purple or whatever. But listen, to be fair, all the people in Jersey have a lot of tanning and self-tanning going on. But I think Louis is a handsome fella. I mean, I don't think he's a bad looking guy. Yeah.
No. I think he clearly takes care of himself. Yeah. And I just don't understand. Like, I wish like the color mixer for the like self-tan person who sprays him would put a little less red in because he is on like put a little more blue in, I think would or a little more yellow would like bring that down a little bit.
I could agree with that.
Yeah. And that was the other thing watching with my mom. She's like, why are all these people like red? She's like, what's wrong with your TV? I'm like, no, Mom, it's just Jersey.
Oh, that's funny. So with Louis.
She's like, and she's like, wait, is that guy wearing a muscle shirt at the dinner table?
Oh my gosh.
When they were having her birthday dinner?
When I saw that preview, it was like, I just started hysterically laughing. I'm like, only in Jersey. I mean.
What do you call that? You have a word for it.
Okay, so the bad word, which is like very not PC, is a wife beater. It's very bad.
Okay, that I've heard. I had never heard guinea tea.
A guinea.
But my mom's like,
a guinea's a slang.
A muscle shirt.
Yeah, a muscle shirt. A guinea's a slang word for Italians. I guess it's racist, to be honest with you. But yeah, it's a guinea tea. And I have to tell you, I'd be lying if I said that I don't have family and friends who would, in fact, show up to a nice restaurant in a guinea tea. I mean, it was a fancy guinea tea. It wasn't like the ribbed kind. I don't know.
Oh
I
my
don't know
God.
what it is about the East Coast, but when our men when they're pumping iron in the gym, they really want people to see it. So
This is what happens when we haven't talked for 2 weeks because we're so off.
okay, going to Louis. So Amanda,
What is his role? What do we think?
so here's it. I said to Larry last week, and Larry and I agreed. I said, you know what? I feel that it's only fair that we go into it fresh with him. He admitted the toxic relationships. He said he was growing. He blah, 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 blah. So let's go in with a new lens. But I got to tell you, that scene right off the bat, he's in the kitchen with Teresa, waiting for Marge and Joe Bonino to come over. And he's like, oh, or maybe it's when his parents were coming, whatever. He's like, your brother should be here. He just sent flowers. He should get over you calling him a bitch boy, and just calls Joe every name in the book, right? So
Yeah.
at this point, Joe's mad at Teresa from what transpired at the reunion, from not having his wife in the wedding. And whether people find that valid or not, Joe grew up family, and to him, he feels his wife should be in the wedding. Now, you see Louis like really going in on Joe, but this doesn't align with Louis's peace, forgiving, calm way that he's telling the world he wants Teresa to adopt, right? She's in therapy, trying.
Yeah.
So to me, it's saying he's sending her mixed messages. I'm not sure if at this point there was a deeper issue with Louis and Joe that we don't know about yet, but it's interesting that he wants her to have Margaret over and he wants to forgive Margaret. Part of me says, is it that he wants to be seen as forgiving since Margaret is the one who brought the rumors from social media to television? So Louis feels like by him publicly forgiving her, it makes him a good guy. And it's like he's coaching Teresa, which we could certainly see as sweet, like to try to improve her and encourage growth. Or, depending on your perspective, it could be seen as controlling. And again, there's something I heard that, I don't know. You're hearing that the issues with the Gorgas and Teresa and Louis are deeper, but yet they're not yet showing it on the show. So
Well, and we know the producers sometimes play around with the timing. So that's what I keep thinking. I'm like, there's got to be something else that's happening that we just don't know about yet. Because Joe is clearly pissed when he walks in the door. It's very tense.
Right.
And, back to Louis and Teresa talking in the kitchen. When I was watching that, I was thinking about that. I'm like, you can be supportive to your wife, but also tell her she's wrong.
right. Totally.
I feel like that with my friends, like if I'm talking with them about something and like they're asking my opinion, and like I can lovingly say like I'll support you no matter what, but I don't think that's a good decision, or I think you should apologize, which is what, if Louis was truly being this person, I think he should have said, you know what, like I know everything goes deep, but you shouldn't have called him a bitch boy on national TV.
Right.
And you should apologize for that.
So that's what, again, raises the red flag for me, because he's telling her.
He was riling her up.
Right.
He was. He was riling her up.
And then he tries to de-escalate her and almost.
I see what you're saying. It could be considered very controlling, because then he's like, no, I'm going to come in and save the day and calm her down.
I thought it was interesting that Teresa pointed out that, like, the way she reacts is how her father reacted. Certainly we see Joe Gorga react that way too. I mean, again, I said it earlier and I'll say it again. Melissa, to me, keeps a much more level head. She's more rational. Joe blows and Teresa blows, and they do it to each other. And
yeah,
it's unhealthy. And, Dolores said on Watch What Happens Live, she's like, I always root for family. She goes, but I think it's really time. She said, I'm not taking a side. I just think it's time. They're toxic.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Which, God bless Dolores for somehow finding a way to stay friends with them both through all of this. Because, I mean, give her the whatever award, because that has got to be like
exhausting.
A shark-infested water to swim in.
Right.
So, I don't know. I mean, I gotta say, just seeing what I could see after the first episode, like, I find myself more on the side of Teresa and Louis. And I mean, to all the people who call us Gorga stans, put that in your pipe and smoke it, because I'm even surprising myself. because I just see things in Teresa that I just don't think are nice, right? And like we've gotten so much information about Louis that I've just really questioned his motives. However, as of this episode, like I was like, okay, well, I kind of see Teresa's, because if I were Teresa, it would be very hard to move forward if Melissa and Joe didn't come to the birthday and didn't try to show,
I think
with their presence,
but I
that
think
they're
that
trying
it's
to,
hard because if you look at it and you look at the text and you look at Melissa just not going for cake, but if you remember the history and like the resentment that Melissa clearly has, it makes sense. Like, and
yeah,
obviously neither of them ever really forgived when they said they forgave each other, and that's clear. That's one thing we can all agree on. But anyway,
right.
Moving on, because I'm sure we're going to spend the next so many weeks talking about their issues.
Yeah. Well, so I said this before, because like the cast, especially that roller skating party, it's like there's so many of them there. It feels really big, which I think is good. At
that point, I don't think they knew that Danielle and Rachel were full-time. I think they were still on the fence about Jackie and Fessler, so I think that's why it seems so bad.
Right. And then like Tracy was there. I know. So we got that email quite a while ago that said like, hey, you'll see after the first episode, one of the girls is a real standout. I have my thoughts, but I actually really liked all of the new girls. So who do you think the person is that they were saying was the clear standout?
I feel like it was probably Danielle, because she's got like the most outgoing personality. Although Jen Fessler's got like a sharp wit. It makes sense. She's Marge's friend. She reminds me of her. She's kind of funny, and I could see that she could be cutting. She's to the point. I think Rachel's gorgeous. She seems spunky and cute. I liked that she didn't try too hard. I think she just came in and she was naturally herself. The internet is buzzing because she's only 31 years old. Born in 1991.
That's what she said on the show, and I was like,
she's got a 15-year-old son. So she had her son at 15 or 16 years old, and then years later, I suppose, met her husband, John Fuda, and now she has two little girls, like 1 year apart, like a 2-year-old and a 1-year-old, and they're so adorable.
She's like a beautiful, like great, like clearly takes really good care of herself. She said that she's done like bodybuilding or whatever. Maybe it's her makeup that just comes off a little harsh. I just feel like she looks older than 31.
Well,
I don't know.
We're mothers. She's been a mother since she's 15. That shit'll age you.
Oh, that is so true.
I like Danielle.
I don't know. I liked them all.
So many.
I loved. Oh, go ahead.
You go.
I was just gonna say, I loved when Danielle was talking about her husband and like how he's like made her dreams come true.
Loved
and
it.
Like, I thought that was so cute.
I loved how she said, my husband's a man. And then she was like, not like he pumps iron in the gym. Like he married me. He said he would take care of me, and he has. Like, I really like them. A lot of people ahead of it were like, oh, she's thirsty. Listen, she makes no bones about it. She was on that True Life. I'm from Staten Island. And since then, her goal has been to be on reality television. It's what she wants. It's her business if she wants it. And she's got a cute family. Her kids are funny, adorable. Her husband's handsome. I really like her. She does have a Manzo connection. Her stepmom was married to Caroline's brother. So her dad's wife, her stepmom, is Caroline Manzo's brother, Lorita's ex-wife. Candace Lorita's mom. Now, we remember Candace. She's on Albie's pod a lot. Dear Albie. She's best friends with Lauren Manzo. So, cousins, obviously, but also best friends. So, yeah, I mean, I like Danielle. I'll be honest. I feel like she probably has more in common with Rachel and Melissa than she does Jen and Teresa, just based on what her home life is like. That's my opinion. But I wonder where that goes over time.
Yeah. I don't know. I think the three new wives are great. I'm excited to see more of Jen Fessler. She interested me. Like, she seemed like she's, like self-deprecating and like kind of funny, and I don't know. But speaking of Jen's, we have to talk about the evil eye. I laughed out loud because she was like talking about it and like, you know, how there's been all this negative energy. But then she's like, therefore, ergo, she didn't say those words, but essentially she's like, you know, in conclusion, it's Dolores. I'm like,
oh my God.
what?
You know, I have to tell you, I really hated the way that Jen spoke to her. I always, you know, I want to like Jen. There are things
Which time?
At the end of the party when she told her she looked like an old handbag.
Ugh.
At the end of the
Yeah.
calendar shoot, like she cuts so low, and when she also insulted her, like, because when Dolores is mad, she says she said it before, like this one. She's like, oh, this one. Like, do you have a vocabulary? Like, basically called her an idiot. Listen, you could say what you want, but there are few housewives who have raised classier children than Dolores and Frank. And Frank himself has said that was mostly Dolores as a single mom. So, like, please don't insult her intelligence. Clearly, she's a very smart woman. Clearly, both of her children are, you know, well-educated and nice, sweet people. I really didn't like, you can be mad at somebody, you can yell at them, but, you know, Jen really went in.
Yeah. Agreed. I don't like that either. I just feel like Jen is always like that, and she's said mean shit. I mean,
she's mean.
I don't know.
She's mean.
I agree.
I mean,
I totally
she can also
agree.
be funny and kitschy and great mom, but she can be very mean.
Yeah. Agreed. I totally agree. And I'm sorry, like, don't fuck with Dolores because, like, it's hard for me to, like, Dolores is not perfect, and we've seen her get really mad, but I think, you know, with justification and, like, I don't know. I feel like she's I wouldn't say necessarily above reproach, but, like, as close as it gets in housewife world, especially in New Jersey.
And
like,
she does so much good. Like, these people have these huge platforms, and not a lot of them do the charities. I mean, we have seen Dolores do multiple charities over the year. The baseball game is for the hospital. We've seen her do charities for women's shelters. We've seen her do animal charities. Frank is also very charitable. I actually have shared a couple of foundations for him that, you know, he sends to the accounts, and he's like, if you could share this. Her kids are very charitable. Like, come on. How dare you?
Yeah, agreed. Okay, should we move to Vanderpump Rules?
Oh, brother.
What did you think?
I thought it was amazing. I missed the energy. Last season wasn't great. This season looks fantastic. What did you think?
So same. So I think I've said this, and I should probably try to catch up, but I was watching a little bit of but I have not watched last season.
Don't bother.
Yeah, and like I picked up on some of the drama. I mean, I don't know.
Flash it back.
I was watching and they were doing like a sipping and painting thing, and I was like, oh God, this is why I didn't watch this.
Yeah, really.
Like, this is too close to like my real life.
Right, this is supposed to be
we
like...
need to see them ripping it up, you know, and fighting.
I'm going to start with your favorite gal, Raquel. Rochelle. I have to be honest.
I am going to make an effort to call her by the right name, Raquel.
Yes. I felt bad for her. I mean, James was so in her face with the new girl. He even called her the love of his life. That was kind of cruel. I do think Raquel was incredibly classy when they were at that hotel party together, and she was sitting on the whatever you call that couch thing outside. She was sitting with the girl, and the girl was very nice to Raquel, very respectful, and Raquel certainly was. And I felt bad for her. And also, Raquel came out and confirmed that James and Lala hooked up. She found out, obviously, recently, while James was dating Raquel. And, like, that kind of makes the Bambi-eyed bitch comment that Lala did make a lot more sense. Raquel was always worried. Mm-hmm. They always told her she was crazy. So we've been pretty rough leading up to the season because we know that she does end up fooling around with Tom Schwartz, which we don't feel is cool. But I kind of see that she was in a really vulnerable place. Like, she's learning that he cheated on her with Lala. She's learning that he moved on from her so quickly and moved in with this new girl who is sweet and beautiful. And I think that makes it hard too, right? Like, it'd be so much easier if Raquel could be like, oh, she's a tacky whatever. But, like, Raquel likes her and she thinks she's a nice girl. So that almost makes it harder.
Yeah. Yeah.
But wait, James, within like the first 30 seconds of the show, driving around in his fancy sports car, rocking out, singing his own music was just, I've missed him. He's like Jax, like you hate him, but you love him, or how Jax used to be before he completely jumped the shark.
Yeah. I mean, I was laughing too because I was like, God, I would die if I saw somebody doing that in their car, just driving by.
Yes.
I mean, we love to hate James, or I don't know if that's even quite what it is, but like he's not somebody that I think I would want to like hang out with, but I do find myself entertained by him. I thought it was and you guys, I'm so sorry. I have literally 3 doors in between me and the dog, but the dog is like barking and crying to get in. So if you guys hear some whining in the background, my dog is fine. Nobody is hurt. I'm so sorry. He doesn't usually do this. So anyway, back to James, the new girlfriend. She seems very sweet. I agree. Very young.
What is James? Early 30s?
I was surprised when Lala said she was 31. I was like, God, she's only 31.
So James is like 30 or 29. I mean, and like maturity-wise, he's like 16 and a half. So I'm fine with the age.
Yeah. I thought that was very mean that he called the other girl love of his life to Raquel. Like I thought that was cruel.
Unnecessary.
To steal your word. Yes. I thought the way that it started out with the news of Katie and Tom's divorce and how they're like both sitting down and they're like, should we get into it? And like, that was so weird. Because the last time we saw them on TV, was the reunion where they were sitting in the room together, or I'm trying to remember, were they they were on Zoom on the reunion because I was watching that, and they were together and like very much a united front. So just that one like almost took my breath away because they've been together pretty much the entire show, Crazy.
And it also made me like say to myself, how could this season not be good?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Well, yeah, because I mean, we went from all these couples and like half of them were moving to the Valley, which nothing against the Valley, but it's not Hollywood, West Hollywood, where all the action is, right? They're moving to the burbs, and now all of a sudden we've got Katie, we've got Tom, we've got Raquel, we've got Lala all being single. So I'm here for it.
I mean, what about Sandoval and Ariana? They're kind of... Listen, I like Sandoval, like when he was out to lunch with Tom. And the other thing that I was reminded of is this cast, even though they've been around forever and they're very famous in the Bravo world, they don't sugarcoat shit. They tell it like it is. They're rough on each other.
Yeah.
It's good. And now with them all single... Okay, where do you stand with Lala saying to Schwartz, listen, we met. I told everybody it's me or him. You're hanging out playing pickleball with him. There's no gray area. If you have any communication with him, I'm done with you. What are your thoughts on that?
So, well, I have a feeling Lala would probably do that regardless of the situation. It feels like a very Lala thing to do, which is, I think, partly why we love her. There's no gray space with her ever, right? She's very black and white. However, knowing what we know about the Randall deep dive and like the LA Times article had come out as of when they were filming,
right?
And they were talking about it. So, the stuff that was in there, it's absolutely shocking. And like knowing that, like I 100% can't help but agree with her, especially given there's a custody situation and that their entire relationship. And so you could probably argue all of the other people's relationships with Randall was all based on a false reality.
Totally agree. And it's not like in the case of Raquel and James, they just broke up. This was like really bad blood. Obviously, he was up to really no good beyond cheating. The LA Times expose showed all of that. So I think it makes Tom look, quite frankly, stupid. Like, forget about Lala, because let's face it, I don't think he's great friends with Lala individually. I also don't think he's great friends with Randall individually, which makes it more like, Why is it so hard
Yeah.
for you to give up on an acquaintance who is being outed as all of these terrible things? It's a bad look, if you ask me. Like, Lala aside, it's
I
a bad
totally
look.
agree. I totally agree. It's a bad look for Tom. And like, I'm like, is Tom just trying to look like not like a wishy-washy guy? Because like that was kind of his reputation. And I
By
don't know.
picking the
It's
wrong
just, it doesn't,
side, if you don't want to look wishy-washy, stand for something and say, this guy's a bad dude.
yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I am 100% team Lala on this one. I feel like, just kind of going back to what you were saying about how they don't sugarcoat stuff, like both Toms, they're not afraid to cry
Right.
on the camera, right? Like they show it, and like they show the hard and the good, and like I like that I think the casting was so good for this because they are, yes, they were all friends, but they're not holding back, right? And I love that about them. So, there's that speaking of LA Times, another LA Times article that came out this week that you posted. I'm sure you read it.
Yes.
But like in that, like their honesty and their openness comes out. So it's just so refreshing. And they make this point about how like they're accessible. And, a lot of people, if they saw, Tom Cruise in a restaurant, wouldn't go up to him. But, they go to these Toms, right? And like, it's just, you can't not like these guys.
I agree.
And I love Tom Sandoval, his 70s look. I am loving it. Like I don't know what's wrong with me, but I am loving the mustache. I'm loving his like 70s glasses. Like I
mean,
think
good
he's
for
totally
him,
rocking it.
but I don't love it. Like, would you want your husband to dress that way?
F no. But I like the people the people who are in their 30s in LA doing it. And I think he looks I think it's like a really, like, it's a handsome, like he pulls it off very well.
And I did read the LA Times article because the same girl, Yvonne, who wrote up about myself and other Bravo accounts for the LA Times, wrote it. So I actually reposted it and shouted her out. It was a great article. And I agree. I feel like I used to take Vanderpump Rules as a whole for granted. And then last season they were so blah. But last night, I have to say, it really gave me a jolt. Especially after coming off that very emotional New Jersey episode.
Right.
I just hope there's some fun moments in
some...
Jersey. Because I'll be honest, it gives me anxiety at this point.
Yeah. I mean, and well, we know, because we know what we know, right? And we know that things get even worse. We don't know why, but we know that they get much, much worse. So I totally agree. It's fun to have that. And then we've got Summer House, which is always good for some fun times.
Oh, I can't wait.
So
Loverboy not emailed me, DM me. They're sending me some merch.
Oh, so fun.
I'm excited.
I still haven't tried it. I need to try it.
Oh my God. You haven't tried the actual drinks?
No.
I wish they were sending me the drinks.
They have it where I live.
They asked me for my size, so I'm guessing they're sending me a sweatshirt, which is super cool too, but like I like my cocktails, so.
Well, anybody who knows you would be like, she'll post the shit out of the cocktails if we send them to
Maybe they'll send both. All right, cocktailers, thank you so much for tuning in. As always, we appreciate you. And, keep that tea coming.
Thank you guys. Yeah, don't forget, send us tea at the website. We read it all. We post it. Thank you guys that have joined us on the membership site. We definitely have some juicy stuff going on there. And thanks
Amanda,
for listening to the pod.
do you know what I wanted to say? Yes. Because I've posted this because a lot of people ask, and I don't think I've said it, correct me if I'm wrong. So a lot of people ask, when they sign up for Cocktail Party, will they get all the tea like from the past, right? So we started the Cocktail Party about 3 months ago.
End of November. Yeah.
Yes, you will get everything. So like take the weekend to peruse because you'll get every little bit of tea. It's all there. So it's not like you get the tea from all the day you join. You get it all.
Right. And you get all the bonus pods too, which somebody just joined and like sent an email to me saying, oh my gosh, I didn't realize that we get bonus pods. And I was like, yeah, we do at least one a week. Sometimes we have more. It just kind of depends on how much tea there is. So,
and the bonus
and you'll get all the
it's usually stuff that I'm really not supposed to share yet.
Yeah.
Because I feel like it's less people, or it's stuff that I'm nervous sharing publicly because maybe it won't be received well. So it tends to be juicy.
Right.
It tends to be juicy.
Or it's like the story about the time you went to Sonia's townhouse and like other funny stories.
People
like
love that story.
So
That is a funny story.
I love that story. It's a great story. So well, thank you guys. Have a great week and we'll see you guys next week.
Till next time.
Thank you guys so much for listening. Just want to ask you guys a favor, just getting kicked off. So many people have been asking us to do this podcast. So please do subscribe. And if you subscribed, go to your podcast app and hit those 3 little dots to share with your friends, but only friends who like good tea, because the ones who don't care about tea, then like forget them. And don't forget, find us on Instagram at bravoandcocktails_. And check out the website because some great tea gets put there daily that would get us kicked off of Instagram. So thanks for listening, everybody.
Bye, guys. See you next time.